When you've got Alabama in the same division, the work is never done, and certainly Jimbo Fisher is taking that approach at Texas A&M with two excellent recruiting classes, one just completed here in 2021, and he's looking forward to 22 as well with a couple top 10 classes. We got Andrew Hattersley on the line. He covers Texas A&M football for 247 Sports, Gig 'em 247. Andrew, how you doing today?
Good, and you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing great. Appreciate you stopping by. Of course, Texas A&M, always a major player on the national front, but specifically coming off a nice season with the one loss and a top four finish in the college football final ranking. So before we move on to recruiting, I got to think that the Aggie fan base is pumped and ready for 21 coming off a big night 2020.
Yeah, it's safe to say there's a lot of excitement. I think the shift really happened at that Florida game. Was kind of where everything seemed to shift. They were coming off the disappointing loss to Alabama, and I think this kind of translate onto the recruiting front as well. Is they beat Florida, and the momentum has just seemed to kind of take off from there. They closed the year with 8 straight wins, culminating with the Orange Bowl win over North Carolina. Kind of carried that momentum right into signing day, and then are off to a good start in the 2022 class as well. So kind of a fun time to be covering them because there's a lot of excitement, a lot of momentum around the program.
Although I got to say, I'm going to take the flip side to this, Andrew. I got to think that a lot of people make comments from time to time. Hey, if we were only in the other division or somewhere else or still in the Big 12, then why do we have to deal with Alabama? Because the team that we're going to have to ultimately take down, unfortunately, is standing right in front of us in the division.
Yeah, that is the flip side to it. But I think that the challenge of chasing a school like Alabama is fun. You know, you're going head to head. They seem to be going head to head in more and more recruiting battles, and I think they're really enjoying kind of being in that division, battling LSU, battling Auburn. I think they're really enjoying it.
MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we all love each and every day. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's at least our aim, goal, and mission. We got Andrew Hattersley on the line from Texas A&M's 247 Sports site, Gig 'em 247, to talk up the 21 and 22 recruiting classes, which this 22 class, of course, the rankings don't mean a whole lot, but we expect them, in Texas A&M's case, to hold up and maybe even improve. Third in the SEC, 9th overall, according to the 247 board, with 5 hard commits and another possible one coming into the fold here for 22 out of Katy, Texas, and Bobby Taylor.
Yeah, he's set to make his decision in about 2 weeks now, February 24th. It's his mom's birthday. They've kind of been targeting him for quite a while. He's in that same Houston area. Some of the other schools in the mix, you know, Alabama is in the mix. Michigan jumped in the mix, and that's probably the one program to keep an eye on a little bit because he's got a really good relationship with Maurice Linguist, who used to be at A&M and first extended him the offer, and then is now at Michigan and extended him an offer right away when he got over there. So. But A&M's been pushing hard for him. They really like him as a guy that can play, you know, all over the secondary, safety, corner, nickel, kind of all over the place. He's a versatile piece. He's done that for Katy, and he's kind of the next looming target that's making a decision here in the next couple of weeks. They would love to add him as well.
Now, Andrew, it's hard for me to imagine somebody who didn't play a sport in college to even add that responsibility to the plate and think 2 sports seasons removed, making a decision on when you're going to go where you're going to go play and attend school. But we've got a possible commitment coming up for 23.
Yeah, he's one that just feels like he's ready to make his decision. A&M and Georgia were a couple of the early offers for him, and for a lot of kids, it's just, you know, kind of whenever the time is right for you, whenever you feel like you've kind of come to a decision with your family. And he's a guy I know A&M really likes as well. And then they've had some Zoom calls with him and things like that. They haven't been able to host him on visits, obviously, because, you know, we've been in a dead period now since the middle of last March. So coaches have kind of had to find different ways to get on Zoom calls and all that. But For a lot of kids, sometimes the recruiting process can get a little stressful when you've got coaches reaching out to you from all over the country, and a lot just kind of want to get the decision out the way and then go ahead and focus on their junior season and working towards what they have to do to get ready to play college ball. And I think that's one of the cases with him, is where he just feels like he's kind of comfortable with his decision, and we'll see where he ends up going tonight.
All right, we're talking Texas A&M football with Andrew Hattersley at Gig'em 247 Sports here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you like the content, then you smash the like button. Of course, subscribe here, hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live, which is typically multiple times per day, talking college football every day with you. And also keep in mind that if you enjoy the content, then other people will as well. So share the videos out on social media. So I'm looking at this 2022 class as it stands right now, with Bobby Taylor possibly being a 6th hard commit, 3rd in the SEC, 9th in the nation, according to 247. Weak side defensive end Malik Cilia tops the class as it stands right now. He's a top 10 player in the state of Texas, number 37 on the big board. And I emphasize this from time to time for people that aren't into recruiting. When you see a 37th national ranking next to a player's name, that is rarefied air. He's way up there in the rankings, and again, 3rd at his position, as Texas A&M is reeling in roughly 4 top 158 players in this class so far. So if you can just kind of run through who's committed and some of their skill sets.
Yeah, so Malik Silla is a guy I really liked, and it kind of fits with exactly what Jimbo Fisher has kind of been wanting to do, is build through the trenches. That's kind of, we talked about chasing Alabama. I think when he looks at that, he kind of sees, to get to that level of play, we have to be able to win the line of scrimmage. You have to be able to get after the quarterback and protect the quarterback. And Malik Silla is a really, really, really good pass rusher out of Katy. He's got good length, gets off the ball really well, really explosive. And like you mentioned, the 37th nationally is, 32 is kind of right on that 5-star range. So he's kind of right there, right pushing. And he led off the class in about middle of January. He was the first to announce his commitment. And then we've got Donovan Green and PJ Williams, who are 2 teammates at Dickinson, and they both really wanted to play together. They've been playing sports, together since they were, basically in Little League, football, basketball, and have always been really, really close friends. So they actually ended up filming their commitment video together. And Donovan Green was another huge target for A&M. They didn't. They signed Fernando Garza, one tight end out of Katy in the 2021 class, but they really prioritized Donovan Green as their guy in the 2022 class that they really, really wanted to get. He's one of the top tight ends in the nation, and Florida was after him, and a couple other schools were really in on him as well. And then Hunter Erb was one that came together pretty quickly. He received the offer earlier this month. I like him as a player that's going to continue to get better. He's got a really good attitude about him, and I've had a chance to see him in a couple of camps now. Really good listener, really pays attention, and you've kind of seen his game take off the past year or so. He's coming off a really nice season. And then obviously the big piece was getting the quarterback, and that was another one that came together pretty quickly. It was Connor Weigman. He's out of Bridgeland, a really good baseball player as well. So that's been one discussion with him about, the baseball side. Is he going to end up going to college? I think the expectation right now is he does end up going to college, but really good quarterback who can kind of make off schedule plays, and is another guy that's really well connected in the Houston area. So when you talk about all these guys that have committed, it's, a lot of them are from that Houston area and can recruit others to join them. And I think that's been one early storyline, is just how, these guys have all kind of been friends for a long time and all joined the class together.
Just to set up everyone on the metrics on the 247 site, Weigman, a top 5 quarterback, 16th rated in the state, He's a top 100 player nationally, again, out of, as Andrew says, Bridgeland, Cypress, Texas. The two Dickinson, Texas guys, PJ Williams is the 23 rated offensive tackle, an offensive tackle of prized position. So even 20th rated in the nation, he's still a top 25 player in the state. Donovan Green, as you mentioned, number 3 tight end, according to the 247 Sports rankings there, number 18 in Texas. And give us a little insight into the recruiting game here. So we're talking about 4 players here that just all committed within the last week to 2 weeks. And Hunter Erbs, a guy that doesn't have any ratings available right now. So do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, I think he's going to end up getting rated here in the next couple of weeks. I think our next rankings coming out the 3rd week of February. We've tried to kind of structure it just at 24/7 Sports in general is every 3rd Wednesday of the month, a new ranking comes out. And obviously with signing day being the past couple of months, the priority has been in January, it was the 2021 class. And in November, it was kind of also the 2021 class. So it's been a little while since we've had an update on the 2022 class, but I think you could see him definitely in the high 3 range, the high 3-star range, and then kind of a guy that'll move up from there. I think he's got some really intriguing measurables, and you mentioned PJ Williams too, and he's another guy that has plenty to add to his frame still, and so he's still learning the position at offensive tackle, and he's a guy that has a chance to get a lot better than he is right now.
Andrew, obviously, Texas is one of the big 3 in recruiting with Florida and California. It's always been that way. When you look at metro areas, Atlanta gets a lot of buzz for how amazing the talent has been going to college and then on to the NFL. But you mentioned Houston. And I got to think here in the last 10 to 15 years with that city just exploding, that has been one of the main target areas for A&M, being what's it, about 90 minutes away?
Yeah, it's just about an hour out of College Station. And yeah, that's, I think, when you look at where Texas A&M would like to kind of build their home, it's kind of in that Houston area. There's so many good players that have come out of that area the past couple of years. And even looking at the latter part of the 2021 class, obviously they had a ton of momentum in the 2022 class early on from that area, but they also landed LJ Johnson, who was another big-time running back in the 2021 class. That was kind of a Texas A&M battle the past couple of weeks. And then Bryce Foster is another one that was a real battle with Oklahoma, but they ended up keeping him home down the stretch as well. And then even looking at the Houston area, guys like Reuben Fothery is another big time land out of that Houston area. So I think, when you talk to a lot of those kids, a lot of them bring up, and Tunmise Adelaide as well. When you talk to a lot of these kids, they mention proximity to home as one of the first things that stands out to them. They can, go home on the weekends if they want to see family. Family can come see them. And so I think Texas A&M kind of has that edge right now when it comes to proximity to home, that they can really sell, and it's really working for them, especially in this class, and especially getting guys down for visits when it's not as easy to jump on a flight from Florida to come see a game in College Station rather than make that hour drive over for a game. It helps when it comes to visits as well.
Andrew, that said, before we move on to the 21 class,
yeah.
Kevin Sumlin did well in the recruiting game there at Texas A&M, but Jimbo Fisher has just ratcheted the ranking up, and that's his reputation, and that's what was expected, and that's what he's being paid to do. So he's certainly delivering first in the recruiting rankings, and then this past season on the field. So what is the difference between Sumlin and maybe some previous Aggie coaches and what Jimbo Fisher brings? Have you seen a different approach, a different strategy, or is it just hard work and name brand and a guy who's won a national championship?
So this is my second. I came. This is my second class covering A&M, and I think the biggest thing that stands out about this A&M staff that they have right now is they're pretty relentless in terms of, they stay on guys until, and even if you commit somewhere else, they're going to stay on you until the very end. I mean, Tanmise Adelaide was a guy that was committed to Ohio State, and A&M never really gave up. And I think that's the biggest thing. When you look at this staff, you just hear about how many guys that they're just staying on and recruiting and kind of right up until signing day, they're still pushing. And the other part about this staff, I think that's been impressive is the way they close out signing days is something that certainly grabs your attention. I mean, just taking the 2021 cycle, for example, they close with, Bryce Foster on the Friday morning. They get Shamar Turner, which is another big time piece out of Dallas a couple days before signing day. Then they get L.J. Johnson, then they get Elijah Judy and Jordan Gilbert, who are two out-of-state kids. And Sonny, that's 5 huge additions late in the class that you've kind of added between the early signing period and National Signing Day. And I think that's the biggest thing is kind of that latter part of the season, you really see the staff kind of turn into high gear.